Hello everybody. Right, I'm going to try and see how we get on with resin. So it's my test day for it basically. I'm a little bit rushed because I wasn't planning on doing it. It's just scissors aren't working. Yeah, it's just the way the day has ended up going. Right, I'll show you in a moment everything I've got in preparation. For what I'm doing here. I just need to try and get into this packet to see how shit these latex gloves are, because if they're like the last lot of proper latex gloves that I got, which was one size fits all, was absolute bullshit because they just kept splitting. Okay, yeah, so I do need to go with the gloves because I am basically playing with chemicals. Actually, no, I'm going to put my finger through this glove. Right, what I'm going to be doing is guessing a total amount of resin I'm going to need. I'm going to be trying 3 different colours in in a number of 5 different shapes of crevice in wood. And so I am trying 3 different colours, 3 colours that I'm potentially going to use more than most, which is why I'm using them, because I want to see how those 3 particularly look, and in different shapes because it's different amounts and could end up with different types of finish on it. Now there is a chance as well that the resin will simply pour straight or soak into the wood. A bit like stain did. Now, because I know that the stain did, that's how I know that the resin might. Now, one of the things it recommends on the instructions to do with wood that might soak it in is actually sort of brush a layer of resin into where you're going to be applying it, so that can actually create a bit of a seal. So I am going to do that on some of these. So now that I've got my gloves on, I'll show you what it is that I've got that I'm going to be doing, and which is very sort of basic. This I've basically got a piece of wood, which is the same type of wood that I built the shelves with, but in it I have, with my knife, you can see that I have basically scratched a shape into that. Decided not to cut that one out, so I'm going to see what happens when I get resin into that gap. Here is sort of the first ever attempt at carving a logo that I've made for myself a while ago, and I've not left it particularly pretty or clean, but that's on purpose, to see whether I need to, because with resin you shouldn't really have to, but unless it's clear. But we've got two identical shapes here that I'm going to try two different colours on. But on one of these I will brush a bit of resin in to seal it first, and on the other one I won't. I've then got quite a big, can't really see it, quite a big carved area there, which I'm going to try and fill with resin as well, and then a much shallower but wider sort of circular bit there, and then a long thin carve there. So yeah, got a number of different shapes to try. Okay, so basically the way that this should work is we've got epoxy resin, and this one says Resin, and then we've got epoxy resin hardener, so that's what this one is. Basically you put the same amount of this as this together. Now I'm not going to use the whole bottles because I'm not planning on making loads. Basically we put the same amount of one to the other into a tub. Now it came with two plastic tubs, and it does say to pour one into one and one into the other. I'm going to cheat a little bit there, and I'm going to try and pour both of them straight into one, because once you've poured one into each, you then mix them together. So I'm going to try and save myself a plastic tub and try and do probably 20 ml of each. Whether that will be enough, I don't know. We'll find out. It depends on how much 20 ml is out of the bottle as well. I might go to 30 ml because it does say you're better off making more than you need. Okay, so once they are then both in the same tub, it's going to need stirring up. And when you're stirring this stuff up, you really do need to make sure that you scrape all the sides and the bottom and get it all mixed in together. Once I've done that, I'm going to want to add colour to it, but as I mentioned, I've got three different colours I want to use. So what I've done is I've actually ordered in some plastic tubs which have got lids. I thought that'd be handy in case I make too much. Now there is one downside to them, and that is that the bottoms are not flat, so mixing stuff up could be a little tricky if there's not a lot. So thinking about it, I might be better off doing 60 ml in total of this, and then I can do 320 ml for the colours. So basically I will split the mixture up from that into these three tubs, which I will then add a bit of colour in and stir those up. Now for stirring them up, I'll just use some of my kebab sticks, the bamboo skewers. They've been very useful, and I've probably only ever used about 10 of them on skewers, sorry, on a barbecue. So just sort of break this up into three, and then I've got three different stirrers for each of those tubs. Okay, so once I have got the colours mixed in, I suppose before that is when I will use this to just get a bit of the resin to do a couple of these crevices, or I might just do one actually and then see what the difference is. And then we're basically ready to pour the resin into where it's going to go. Now I can do that basically straight from the tub if I wish to. So the big one on here, so this big one, I could literally just pour it in and just let it level itself. That's one of the great things about this resin, is that it will level itself, and keep an eye out for air bubbles. The other option is to use these. So I did order these, and to be honest, they were not very expensive. Now they are medical grade syringes. So yeah, pretty self-explanatory. And thinking and looking at it, these will actually hold 20 ml. So if these can hold 20 ml, that's quite a bit. What mil are these bottles? They're 260 ml bottles, so 20 ml in there it looks a lot, but I don't think it actually will be. But that will allow me to suck up the resin and then apply it much more delicately, hopefully. And they do come with lids as well. So what I basically need to do is crack on with getting this all mixed. Now the only thing I forgot to look at is how long this stuff takes to dry. So did it say on the nothing on the bottle? Alright, let's have a look. Okay, it recommends to not do it in a low temperature environment, and it's not in here. Although if it is in winter, you can soak the resin bottle in warm water. Okay. So it does say mix for 1 to 2 minutes. Does it say how long it will be dried? From here, you should quickly pour your resin into your moulds, onto your canvas or table or wood. Cover your work with a drop cloth or plastic bin or cardboard box to keep the dust off. Come back in 5 minutes to check for air bubbles, and if necessary, and this is the bit I can't do, use a torch or heat gun on a low setting in a sweeping motion, about 8 inches from the resin, to pop the air bubbles. For smaller stuff, bubbles can be popped with a toothpick. Let's see. It is recommended to seal porous surfaces such as wood with a thin coating of the mixed resin using a squeegee or foam brush prior to doing the main pour. It says let cure for 6 hours. Okay, so it would appear it's quite a while. So what I'm going to need to do to keep dust off that is I'm going to need to find me a box. So back in a minute. Okay, I've got myself a box. So the only thing to do now really is to give this a try. So let's see how we get on, shall we? So, oh, by the way, the colours: blue, fluorescent green, 2 of my favourite colours, and then this one's golden. Now I wasn't going to try this one, but I'm interested to see how gold it actually is, so that's why I'm trying that one. So we've got the 3 colours. How much of those I'm going to need to apply, I do not know. So what I need to do is excuse me, I'm going to want 30 ml of this one. That's just under. Give that a while. Oh, it stinks. Well, actually, I was going to say it stinks, but I farted, so it could be the fart that stinks. Okay, so now we want 30 ml of this one, so get it up to the 60 ml. Okay, so that's the measurement done. So now I need to stir it. Now it says stir for 1 to 2 minutes until all of the streaks are gone. As I said, I need to scrape all the sides and the bottom. There's a lot of air bubbles in there. Now, at the time of me recording this, I have finished my shelving unit, although this is probably going to be, I'm thinking about putting this out public before putting the shelves out. We'll see. Okay, so I've got about another minute or so to go. Now, I'm not really seeing streaks, I'm just seeing lots and lots and lots of air bubbles. I mean, look, that's basically all fucking air bubbles in there. I'm just going to keep stirring for a while. My hands are going numb. One thing I don't know is how I would clean this plastic tub once I've finished. I'll have to have a look. I'm concerned about the amount of plastic bubbles. The amount of fucking air bubbles. So they all kind of, I suppose, they may come to the top. Now maybe, I was going to say maybe that's why you shouldn't put both straight into the same tub at the same time, but it wouldn't make a difference. Okay, so we've had 3 minutes of stirring, and yeah, I don't think I can see streaks. I can only see air bubbles. But I'm going to keep stirring, and there shouldn't be any problem in stirring more. I just want to see what it says about air bubbles. Okay. Pour equal parts resin in and hardener into 2 cups and then pour those 2 cups into a third mixing cup. It is extremely important that you mix thoroughly in this cup, making sure to scrape the sides and bottom of the cup as you stir. Mix for 1 to 2 minutes or until there are no streaks left in the resin. To virtually eliminate the risk of soft spots, pour your mixed resin into a new cup and stir it for another 20 to 30 seconds or until the streaks are gone. This eliminates the possibility of unmixed resin from the sides or bottom of the first cup causing soft spots. It's free insurance, so do it. Okay, doesn't say anything about the bubbles. Now what I will do is I'm going to pour it into this tub and then give it another stir. Okay, some of these air bubbles are coming up into, sort of like coming up into a one bigger air bubble and then popping. I was concerned about the bottom of these tubs when it comes to the mixing part, but actually, I mean, the sticks get into the bottom quite nicely. Right. Okay, what I'm going to do now is you know what I'm going to do actually? Seeing as I wanted to see how well this is going to suck them up. Also, I want to see the 20ml amount. I just thought I don't need that third one, not for the moment anyway. Right. Okay, so now I need to add a bit of colour. I have no idea how much will be too much. So, chopping off. I think it does. Right, I've just put 2 drops into this tub. Let's see how that mixes. I don't want it to be, I suppose see-through is not a problem. Okay, so that's 2, 4. That's quite a nice colour that. But I can see this ending up really air bubbly. Okay, so that one has got 4 drops in. It's looking quite nice. So let's go for 4 drops of the green. So let's go in this one. Let's take top off, mate. I'm actually going more than 4. Right, that was 8. Interesting. Almost looks like there's less air bubbles there. Now I do know you can get other stuff that you can mix into these, like you can get specks of stuff, you can get dusts, and you can get different things. But for now, I'm not going to bother with those. Okay, so the gold. 1, 2. I'm going to go with 2 drops to begin with. Because I want to see what sort of colour that goes. What is it? Kind of like a cross between gold and piss coloured. Okay, that needs more. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We'll go for 12. Now obviously these are very different colours, So the amounts put in have very different effects. Admittedly, what I will say is with this 20 ml of colour in here, stirring in this tub is a little bit awkward. Okay. It's looking more orange than gold, but we'll see how we get on with it. Let's give this another bit of a stir in. Also, I do like the look of this blue. Blue is one of my favourite colours, as is this green. Okay. Now I have absolutely no idea how this is going to go, so let's find out. I'm going to go for a syringe application to begin with. Don't really want air bubbles coming through it. I've managed to suck up a lot of air there. Let's see how we get on with it. I've just remembered I forgot to coat. I'm going to use the blue in the other one, so it's just I'm not too worried about being tidy with this at the moment. It's more just about learning. So, you know, that interestingly has properly filled its thing. I've now got plenty more left. Let's go for that was way too much. Well, I suppose one of the things with these tubs is having the ability to hang on. That didn't work. Yeah, with these tubs, because they've got lids, I can at least, well, I'm hoping if I've got too much I can save it. It depends on whether it's going to go hard on its own. Okay, that's a couple of bits of the gold applied. Right, let's go for the blue. Trying to suck this one up much slower to try and stop myself getting too much air. Now I've only used sort of very small amounts of colour here. I wouldn't be surprised if using a lot more colour would result in it being less see-through, because the gold, even though that's had 12 drops, that would appear to be quite see-through still. Oh, I've tried so hard then to so let's go with the now this resin should be sandable. Yeah, it should be sandable once it's finished with. I must admit, I have ended up with a lot more resin than I was expecting to end up with. I mean, in hindsight, I could have done a lot more colours, but I suppose what I could do actually is, for example, put a lot more colour in there. I might do that actually. Right, let's try the green. So I think the blue had the least amount of drops, then it was the green, and then the gold. The gold is still, I mean, it is quite clear. It'll be interesting to see what it's like once it's dried up. The blue looks lovely. It looks like, almost looks like a beautiful, what's it? Beautiful ocean colour. Right, so green is getting the big task here. I mean, with this, technically I should be able to stay in one spot and keep topping it up. I'm just waiting for it to slowly fill or slowly spread out. So I can come back to that. But what I can't do is stand this up anyway. It doesn't look like it's levelling off much more. Actually, no, it is. It's just doing it very slowly. I don't think I've mixed the green well enough there, to be honest. The colour is looking a little bit streaky. That was an extra 25 squares, and that's about a quarter of the bottle. So while we wait for green to, oh, that's a lovely blue, that nice dark blue. Yeah, while we're waiting for green to fill its hole. Yeah, I mean, look at the colour of this now compared to the much lighter blue. You can still see through it a little bit, but if it's going to be deep enough, I don't think it would be see-through. Now hopefully by pouring it in the same spot, should reduce the amount of air bubbles I can create at this point. And that is way too much on there, Dave. Right, well I'm about to run out of memory on the phone, so what I need to do is leave these for a while, leave them for 5 minutes, come and check how they're getting on for air bubbles, and then cover them with a box and leave them for 6 hours. And hopefully in that time as well I will also be able to find out how the resins get on in the tubs, whether they do harden or not, and also in the syringes. So yeah, I'll be back in a bit. Everybody, right, it's been a little over 5 minutes. Now it says to give it 5 minutes and then check it for air bubbles, so that's what I'm doing. And to be honest, some of this ain't too bad. I suppose really I should give a bit of a close-up of them. Okay, you'll have to excuse the shaky hands, but to show you, I'm going to need to move the camera around. Okay, so this is where I basically just dollop loads on to see what it do with the gaps, and I can't really tell what it is doing there. It almost looks like it's gone into the gaps a bit, but there wasn't enough to completely fill it. Okay, the first gold one that I did, to be honest, I'm not seeing a single air bubble, but it does show that whatever it is filling, at least with that amount of colour, would need to be clean. It would need to be a clean carve because it is quite see-through. But air bubble wise, it's quite good. Now it is soaking into the wood still, because it was quite spread around the actual carved area. So it's still soaking in. Anyway, so the blue one, as you can see, it's still there's still quite a bit of excess on there, but no air bubbles actually in the carved bit. Now that gold one, to be fair, was similar in excess to the blue one, but again, with the blue with that colour level, would need a very clean carved area. Okay, the green, that's still actually levelling out a little bit, and there are a few air bubbles in that, as you can see. There's not a lot I can really do about them, because I think even if I poked it with one of my skewers, there's lots and lots of little ones that I think would need heat. Also the colour of it, yeah, I think it would need a lot more colour in there really. I mean, for all that, I've probably been very what's the word, stingy on the colours for all I know, but I didn't know how much what I would need. Okay, the narrower one, there are a couple of air bubbles in there. I may be able to pop them out, but yeah, that one's still soaking in. I mean, the green, to be fair, has spread quite nicely. It might actually still be spreading a little bit, but the blue one, obviously I did put a lot more colour in that one, and I like that. I think what I'm probably going to have to do at some point, not today, is perhaps redo sort of this and that shape, and go for a lot more colour and see how it looks. But we'll see. I mean, it's interesting anyway. Right, I'm going to try and get a skewer and see what I can do about these air bubbles. Okay, so like I said, with these ones on the green, I don't think there's a lot I can do about them, but I might as well try, at least then I'll find out. Now, ideally I could probably do something a bit smaller on the end. I'm actually getting rid of those air bubbles there. Oh, that one, I'm pushing them down, pushing them down. I mean, one of the things of doing this is learning what you can and can't do with it. So I think I have just pushed most of those air bubbles down, but because ideally what you'd want to do is pop the air bubble. Now, one of the reasons that heat would work is because the warmer this stuff is, the more liquid it is, or the less viscous. So the runnier it is, the easier it is for air to break the tension level of the resin. I mean, at first look it looks like I've sorted that out with those air bubbles, but I actually don't think I have. I think I've just pushed most of them down rather than popping them. There's one down there I'm trying to get. Look, it's quite funny, I can move an air bubble. I mean, it was interesting how the air bubbles were kind of grouped together. Right, see if we can get the one out of this blue. Try to pop it, it won't pop. Just try and push it. Okay, so I managed to push it out and now it's popped. But maybe cocktail sticks have a sharper point. I might have to get some. It's interesting though, definitely interesting. Right, well, so what I'm just going to try and do over here is see if I can move some of this resin into the gaps, see if there's more that can go down. I mean, it's possible that it actually filled it, but I mean, it will be interesting to see what this is like when it's sort of sanded and levelled off as well. But yeah, I mean, ideally I wouldn't have anywhere near that amount of excess. The green has worked quite well, however I think that's still spreading and I think it will end up with a bit of excess. This one had loads, but it is going down. It is soaking in. That's got fucking loads. But it is possible as well that... Oh shit. It is possible as well that these could still continue to soak in, and when I come to them tomorrow, they could be much lower, which shouldn't be a problem because you should be able to apply resin on top of resin. That shouldn't be a problem. But I think if there's one thing that I've learned, yes, you can get a nice clear, but if you do want it to be sort of a solid colour, you're going to need to use quite a bit of it. I'm glad I tried this today though. It's also given my hand a rest from carving. I've battered my hand a bit. Right, anyway, I'm just waffling. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop a box over the top of them, leave them till tomorrow, and we will see then how they're doing.